Dan McNeil is the founder and executive director of PeaceMaker Minnesota, which he started in 1998. He was inspired in part by his college studies, experience in living with Franciscan priests in Siberia, and his professional work in soliciting foundations. While a student at the University of Minnesota, Dan participated in the study abroad program and spent the summer of 1988 traveling to Yugoslavia and writing a research paper on peace. 4 years later, he joined the Franciscan Mission Service as a lay volunteer and eventually became the Acting Director of Caritas for the Asian part of Russia, which focused on helping people experiencing homelessness. Upon returning to Minnesota, Dan worked for Catholic Charities and in 2000 became the Development Director for Guild Incorporated. While there, he began to develop PeaceMaker Minnesota, and in 2018, he resigned from Guild to work for PeaceMaker Minnesota full-time. And he's here today to tell us about PeaceMaker Minnesota. So please welcome Dan McNeil.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. If you prefer I stand by the mic, let me know. Otherwise, I'll stand.
If you could, so that it picks up better on the recording.
Let's stand by the mic here.
So
Yep,
sorry.
sounds good. And then you can.
Or take the mic with you if you wish.
This will be good. This will be good. So a lot of people ask me, how did PeaceMaker get started? PeaceMaker Minnesota. And so I'll start out with some of the origin story, and that is I traced the roots back to 1988 when I was in college, and I did a study abroad program through the University of Minnesota, and we needed to do, it was an independent study program, meaning you go into a country, there's maybe 5 of us, we all go our own separate ways, and we have to write a research paper. Research something and come back and write the paper. So I go, and I knew that I wanted to write something on peace, on peacemaking, but I was struggling. I would go to this place in Yugoslavia and this town, and thought I'd write about peace, and it wasn't working out. And so then I met this priest there, and I said, this is my project. This is what I got to do. And he says, well, meet me after Mass, and I got an idea for you. So, okay. And so I meet him after Mass, and I get in this, he says, well, get in the car. So I get in this small little Yugo car. If you're familiar with Yugos, they're like super tiny. He's in the driver's seat, somebody else, some nun is in the front seat, and 2 nuns get on both sides of me in the back, and we're all squished together. And we're driving down this road, and we drive for like an hour. And we get back to he was a Franciscan priest, and he gets back to his friary, and he says, here's your room, I'll see you in the morning. It's like I didn't have a toothbrush, I didn't have anything, and I'm thinking, what's going on? But the next morning, I meet him in his office, and he gives me some books, and he says, you got to write about peace. What is peace? How do you find it? How do you keep it? What promotes peace? And the only book that I remember that he loaned me was Scott Peck's Road Less Traveled. It was very popular back in the 80s, and it was a book that the experience really changed my life. It made my faith come alive of a sense of that we're here to be in connection with each other. We're here to love each other. We're here to live in peace with each other. And it just sounds like so basic and so common sense, but it's like, why aren't more of us working on this? Why aren't we working on peace as much as we're working on war, as much as we're feeding the homeless, as much as we're working to help people with mental illness? How come I just don't see the peacemakers? And so that really oriented me of saying there's a need here, because this is how we're supposed to live. We're supposed to live in connection with each other. So when I came back from, I graduated from college, and I went and did an internship at the Martin Luther King Center. And then after that, I did 3 years as a volunteer, living with some Franciscans in Russia. And when I came back from there, I met with some friends, and we said, let's start a charity, and let's promote peace. And so I'm going to ask you guys, if you just take a little homework assignment, turn to the person next to you at your table, and said, if you had to start a charity for peace, what would you do? What would be the line of work that you would do? How would you promote peace? So just take a quick second, turn to the person next to you, and say, what would you do to promote peace?
I don't know.
I've been so conflicted. Unfortunately, about peace. Like, what is the answer?
And where did you start?
The violence of the war as well as feels
Okay. Right. And then like even like the Minnesota.
I like it. I think what you just said is.
I have a question for you, maybe a better answer I can.
I don't think I have it, but I think I probably would be the mind where it's,
They thought we exchanged
You gotta reach people when you're young, they get very.
was the best.
I think about that heavily. Cat's brother.
All right, I think we'll come back and let's hear
So he needed help as a child. And.
let's hear some of your ideas.
Oh.
All right, Mary in the back. What would you do?
I joined Rotary.
You join Rotary, promote peace. There you go, I love it.
And I would promote it more, maybe donate more to the foundation, because those are all the avenues that we use, and what we're doing is promoting peace.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, other ideas?
I'll take donations later.
For Rotary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm working on a nonprofit board for a charter school that's opening up this fall called Oceans of Wisdom School. And it's about social, emotional, and ethical learning. And the curriculum was written in Emory University in conjunction with the Dalai Lama. And so it's all about peace.
In harmony and peace, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and the part that's new to me is the ethical learning. That all too often in learning situations, we find a lot of unethical situations, you know, which I think is a lot of what you're gonna be talking to us about.
Love your answer, yeah. What about this table? Anybody want to share from this table?
we kind of agree.
Go ahead.
Which was to talk to people and to really listen to them and try to understand, you know, what your differences are and why they think that way and why you think a different way, and just trying to get to understand them, because it's kind of hard, unless you're cuckoo, to hurt somebody who you know and
Yeah.
who you understand.
Yeah, so really work on the interpersonal communications, interpersonal relationships, yeah. Wonderful. Anybody just itching to share one before we move on? Well, this question is what we asked ourselves. What do we, because I just said I knew I wanted to do something in peacemaking, but really didn't know what. And so we started out providing scholarships to college kids through that same University of Minnesota program that I went on, saying if you're going to do a research paper on peacemaking, we'll give you a scholarship. And so that's what we did our first 3 years. But after a while, we weren't getting the reports back. It didn't seem to be as transformational like it just really seemed to be for my life. This orientation that peace really matters. And so after 2 years into it, we did a pilot. We gave $400 to a school, and they did a peaceful parenting program for parents. And we got a really nice report back, a photo, and just great encouragement saying to keep doing this. So in the year 2000, we started just specifically going with schools, teaching the social emotional learning, teaching interpersonal communication, and that's been our focus ever since. Our mission is to help schools to be peaceful places, free from bullying and harassment, and to help kids learn social emotional skills like cooperation, empathy, how to talk through conflicts without hurting each other. The bullying piece was interesting because we went to schools and said we want to support violence prevention education, and what they came back with most often was bullying. And so that was something that we really had to learn about how to help schools with bullying. And it was something to learn that, you know, it's really the most prevalent form of violence. You know, about a fourth of the kids and fifth graders say that they're bullied weekly here in Minnesota. If you go to the Minnesota Student Survey information on the Department of Education website, it's just very prevalent, bullying, and it's the most prevalent form of violence there is. And it certainly can lead to other forms of violence, other sense of power and control over people, and a sense of I can do whatever I want that makes right. And so it's really a something that I'm glad that Peacemakers is paying attention to and helping schools with. So this is our mission, and if I were to describe our mission, I think the best way to describe it is a story, and my hunch is that you've all heard this story, but I'm still going to say it again because I think it's just a really good representation of what our mission is about. And it's a story that goes with that there's a grandfather and a granddaughter walking along, and the granddaughter says, "Grandpa, you know, how's it going? How's it going today?" And he says, "Well, not so well. I feel like I've got two animals inside of me. Something bad happened to me, and I've got something struggling inside of me. One animal's like hatred and anger and revenge, and the other one is kindness and forgiveness and love." And they walk a little further, and the granddaughter looks up to him and says, "Grandpa, these two animals, which one's going to win?" And he looks down at her and he says, "The one that I feed, the one that I feed." And so that's what I say summarizes Peacemaker's mission, because we're trying to feed this side of kids that says, yeah, we can talk, you belong here, you have value. We're trying to feed this side in kids where they're not bullying each other, where they're treating each other with kindness, where they can talk through conflicts without hurting each other. So that's the side that we're trying to help kids with. And we do this through four services with kids. We buy books for schools for entire grade level on different skill building skills. Kindergarten is not so much skill building, although it does teach them colors and numbers in this book, but it's really teaching them that they matter, and that they count, and that they can make a difference to somebody in their classroom. The second book for first graders is on how to talk through conflicts. It uses some barnyard animals that have a conflict, and it uses them to talk about how, you know, you can stop, you can gather yourself, you can think of ideas on how to solve this in a way that meets everybody's interest. So conflict resolution, how to make friends, how to respond to teasing, how to manage anger. And the fifth grade book is how to develop self-esteem, how to develop self-worth and stand up for yourself as well. So that we have a program where we buy books for kids, and we also pay somebody from the Story Table Foundation, if the school wants, to go into the classroom to lead an interactive session with the kids about the book. So they're learning, they're reading about the book, they're talking about the book, then they write about the book, and you'll get little excerpts pretty soon on that. And then, so that's one program, the books. Another program is we just provide funding, like we did that first school in the year 2000. I think we've given away more than 1.3 million since then to schools to help them buy curriculum that they choose, help them bring in speakers that they choose, help them get training that they choose, help them identify what their community needs in their place and time. And we say we don't want money to be an obstacle. We'll go out and raise money for you and make it happen. So that's one thing that we do, is provide small grants to schools. The third thing that we do is we hire people to work at schools. We right now have, I believe it's 8 people that are working at schools. One here in Golden Valley at the French Immersion School, Notre École, where these people work at the schools. Notre École's, I think the person's 12 hours a week, but all the other schools, the person's 12 or 20 hours a week. Notre École's our smallest school that we're in. And they're there 20 hours a week to help kids learn how to get along, to talk through conflicts, to develop self-esteem, to develop relational skills. You know, one of my favorite stories actually comes from Notre École, and it's a story about our peace guide noticing that there was a girl who was always withdrawn, always sitting by herself at lunchtime, always by herself during the playground. She wasn't causing problems. She wasn't somebody getting into trouble. She wasn't like getting extra, I don't know, extra's not the right word, but getting attention because she needed help with something. But she was really quiet and inward. And the peace guide asked about her, and it turned out that the parents are going through a very ugly divorce, and there just seemed to be some challenges in her life that she was carrying that weight. And the peace guide asked her, you know, how are you doing? And the little girl says, sort of shrugs and doesn't say much. And the peace guide says, well, you know, if you had, you know, 10 fingers, and, you know, 10 is you're doing great, couldn't be doing better, and, you know, 1 is not doing good at all, you know, where would you be? It shows up 3 fingers. And the peace guide says, well, to me, you're a 10. And I just think that's important, because people need people in their lives to say they value, they matter. And that's one of the things that our peace guides do, as well as helping kids talk through conflicts and rethink about how they're treating each other and how they can respond to conflicts or difficult situations in a different and better way. We're helping kids to see their value and to recognize their own value. So that's the Peace Guide service. The fourth service is we pay people with developmental disabilities. So if you know any organizations in the area that serve people with developmental disabilities, we'd be glad to work with them. Right now we're working with 8 organizations throughout the state that work with people with developmental disabilities. Some are school districts. They're called transition programs that serve kids 18 to 21 years of age. Others are adult programs from Wilmer to Duluth to Winona and a bunch in the metro area. So we pay them to go into 4th grade classrooms and lead a bullying prevention training on where we talk about the importance of including others, using kind language, that labels don't belong on people, they belong on jars, and the idea of making an act of kindness, doing something positive, good for somebody else, to be an upstander, not a bystander. So and they talk about how they may have experienced bullying or exclusion and help kids develop empathy and to be more proactive and thinking about what they can do for others. So that's, we pay over 100, and I think it's like 110 or something like that, ambassadors, people with developmental disabilities last year, and they helped with some 40-some schools. So those are our four services. What I'd like to do now is just hand out, you could, if you just pass those around there. So if you can just pass it out, and then just take a second to read one of those. Each of you should have something different. Just take a second to read it. And then the question is, why does this matter? Why would somebody learning this, how could that be helpful to the student, to our communities, to the world? So just, yeah, everybody's got one there, Peggy, so we're good. Let's just read one of them. Yeah, just read one and then turn to the person next to you after you read yours and say, why would this matter? You know, do I want a kid learning this or not? So just read one and take a second on why would this matter?
So mine is if someone is being bullied or teased.
How people can be there for each other. So I think it's like less 2 or 3 from
Thank you so much for the Make a Friend, Be a Friend. And the secret of the meeting is empathy.
It's a secret.
If you part with the friend, compliments the girl that did it.
Yes. What's the last? That's interesting.
EIR.
Yeah. Yeah, keep me posted. That's I mean, you put it on Facebook. That's a big word for it is.
I think we got the same. We did this.
We don't say stop, we don't like to leave. And then we apologize.
I don't know, but
All right, I think we'll come back. Anybody want to share one? Anybody see a particular value of one of these stories? One of
I
these
just feel like that.
items that the kids have said?
Yeah, that's what we They teach us how to stop bullying.
They teach us how to stop bullying. Yeah, a lot of them deal with bullying. That's a big part of our work, helping kids to stand up for one another. Anything else? Yes.
It's in the drawing and shows a woman, an adult woman, a medium-sized child, 2 cats, and no dad. And that's her picture of home, and what she sees home.
Yeah.
That's a reflective of what you're concerned about is.
Sure, broken relationships.
Broken
Yeah,
relationships.
right.
And the cat is the largest of all of them.
Yeah, it is.
The cat's the largest of all. Yeah, her best friend probably.
That's
Wow.
right, that's right.
Yeah, part of the reason why I bring this up is because a long time ago I was speaking at a Lions Club, not a Rotary Club, but a Lions Club, and it's out of the metro area, but it was in a community where we were helping the school, providing funding for the school, and I remember speaking there, and somebody raises their hand and he says, "My daughter goes to that school." And I'm thinking, okay, good. This is probably going to be a supportive question or supportive comment, and he says, "And I don't want her time taken up learning these things." Because she should be learning math and reading, and she should be getting this at home. And so I bring these out because I just think I just think these things show some value of what do we want. If you don't want your daughter, your own child, or if you can teach your own child these things, great, more power to you. We parents should be teaching these things. But what about the child sitting behind her, sitting in front of her, that's causing disruptions, that's not thinking of other people, that might be hurting a classmate? You know, who do we want our kids to marry? Who do we want our neighbors to be? Who do we want our coworkers to be? We want them to be people who have these skills, these social emotional skills. The idea of committed to doing what's right and treating another with kindness. So I hope you see some of that in this, because to me this is what we're trying to replicate over and over and over again. You know, we have yes.
I was just gonna add on to what you were saying too. The ability to have common language within a classroom, within a school community is a huge value. So they might be learning it at home, but for the classroom to have common phrases and common language where they understand what that means, that helps that teacher so much to get onto the math and to get onto the social studies.
Okay.
And frankly, whenever I go to my kids' conferences, I'm looking for the language that they're using in the class so that I can be reiterating that and supporting that at home as well. So we're partners, we're not adversaries.
Right. Absolutely. To me, that's the whole thing. It all just needs to be reinforced over and over again, because we really believe that it's learned behavior. Violence is learned behavior, and so are conflict resolution skills, and so is empathy. You can learn empathy. Kids can learn empathy. So it's just trying to learn that. You know, some people ask, "What's your theory of change in doing this work?" And it's really threefold. One is, if we can get enough people to learning to be peacemakers, maybe we'll have a more peaceful community. Two is if we can help a child at a young age learn these skills, how to talk through conflicts, how to treat each other with compassion and cooperation. You know, then as adults, they'll be in a better position to thrive, and it'll help their life in the long run. But then also, it's also very simple on a basic level. If a child is being bullied or being told you're worthless, you don't matter, you know, this work can mean the world to them. So that's what we're trying to do. We see a challenge. Our work is based on seeing a need. There's too much violence in the world and trying to stop it. We see an opportunity. There's a lot of schools that are asking for help, right? Last year we helped 68 schools throughout Minnesota. There's more that we could be doing. There's only one that we're helping here in Golden Valley. We'd love to be helping every elementary school here, seeing every kid get this. So there's opportunities, and we're trying to make it happen. So that's what our work is about in a nutshell. And greatly appreciate you guys' interest in learning about it. And if you want to know more about it, how you can be involved. I just want to highlight one little thing, because you mentioned the Twins game, and that is we have a thing going on right now that if you know any youth, if you know anybody 21 years of age or younger that raises some money to support this mission, and they can support it whatever way they want. If they want to buy a book is $10. You know, helping a kid learn some of these skills that you've read about here in those handouts, it's just $10 to get it in the hands of a kid. But if somebody were to help us raise money, the people that raise the most money we recognize before the Twins game in June, and we have 400 tickets to give away to the groups that help us raise money. And the secret is that last year only 5 groups helped us raise money. So and they don't even have to be groups; it could be individuals selling lemonade on a street corner. So that means we've got 10 spots, but only 5 people did it. So it really doesn't matter if you raise $5 or $20 or $100. We can get you tickets for the Twins game and get the person recognized before the Twins game. So that's one way that people can be involved. But there's a lot of ways. We have about 40 volunteers. Mostly it's raising money, but not all of it. So thanks for your interest, and if you want to know more, I'd be glad to talk with you after this.